What's it like when you meet like childhood heroes that are fans of you?
I think the best story of that was my absolute childhood hero was Sylvester Stallone. So
Why is that?
Interestingly, so I grew up in the 80s and born in 1975, so I was like 10 in the mid 80s, so 10 to 15. And Stallone was making all the movies. He was making Rambo, Rocky IV, and his physique at that point was amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, amazing.
He must have had one of the best physiques of a non-bodybuilder in the world. Definitely best.
He trained, he trained like a bodybuilder for a long period of time.
I mean, the transition from Rocky I to Rocky II and III, when he really got into it, I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, but if you look back, he wasn't a huge guy. He really wasn't. Like his stature was very similar to mine, and his build was very similar to mine. We had so Arnold was there too, but like I couldn't relate to Arnold because like his physique was entirely different than mine.
Okay.
So Sly was a guy that
big in those movies. Like
he looked big.
Amazing.
I certainly look a lot bigger on some of my YouTube videos than I actually am in person too. But I think that the amount of muscle that he carried, if you look back at like Rambo, he was ripped, but like he didn't he wasn't gigantic. Again, he wasn't Arnold in terms of the physique, but for me aesthetically he was perfect. Like that's what I wanted to be. So
also I think back then we didn't see people ripped like that. So you're like, oh my gosh. And now when I go back and watch the movie, I'm like, well, compared to the Instagram guys, it's not what you would see. But back then, we didn't see anything like it.
No, you didn't see it.
Especially
You didn't
from
see
an
it.
actor.
No, you did not see it. So that was sort of what led me to want to be there. Plus, again, I mentioned I was Italian as a kid, so I think that just instantly went towards him. But and I love the story of Rocky too. I think the story of Rocky is just like one of the greatest stories that's ever been done. It's just like it was so inspirational to me as a kid, like just to overcome. I thought that it made me feel so good every time I watched any of the movies that I just took that to the next level as I started going to my developmental years. Like, oh, I'll look like him too. But many years later, here I am into this pursuit. I'm doing Athlete X, and I wrote a blog about like who influenced me. And I wrote this blog, and I said how, very much like we're talking about now, that the guy who influenced me was Sylvester Stallone in a world where there was Arnold and some other guys. It's because I just felt more of a connection in terms of the physiques and the training style. So. A few days later, and this is on my blog, a few days later, I get an email, and it's from Sylvester Stallone, or someone claiming to be Sylvester Stallone, and saying that when I was a kid, I had this transformative moment that I went and I walked by the theater that was playing Hercules, and I knew at that moment that I wanted to train my body and use it in some way to inspire others, and be it wound up being through film. But he said, I knew at that moment. So Steve Reeves, so he goes, I watch your videos. He says, and you inspire me to keep going. He says, I still have that. So I'm like blown away, and I don't even believe, I'm thinking I'm being punked, at that point.
Right.
So I write back and no response. I write no response. Well, it turns out I didn't even have, like the response thing that we had on our blog didn't even work. So I didn't get in touch with him. And so I was ready to give up until I took his actual email, and because he had ordered our stuff. He was ordering our programs, our supplements, and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So I took his email and I wrote to him, and he directly got back in touch with me. And since then, we've had this great communication back and forth for many years now. And I just think that he's like, he still amazes me. I mean, he's 72, 73 years old.
Wow.
And, he's making another Expendables. He's making another action movie right now. He continues to inspire me because of the longevity. And I think that it's important for people to have somebody that they look up to, I think, because it keeps you always trying to be one step above where you're at, And it doesn't bother me that he's old. A couple of times he wrote back to me, he was like, I just want you to know, I can't do the things I used to do. I can't do, and I think in a way he thinks that I would think any less of him if he didn't. I'm amazed at what he can do, So, I mean, I'm doing these pull-ups on Instagram once that they're called no, I can't even think. Yeah, but where he pushed my body away, headbangers, headbanger pull-ups. Yeah. And 2 days later, he's like, I saw this from Athlete Next. I figured I'd give it a try. And he's up there doing these headbanger pull-ups, Gosh. So, of course, some of the jackasses are like, oh, they don't look like Jeff was doing them. And I'm like, yeah, he's got me by, 40 years, 30 years. So.
He's in his 70s, man. You forget that, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all those guys, Arnold and him. And that's sometimes what makes me feel old, because I remember watching him when I was 15.
And why does he like your stuff?
I think he definitely likes the stuff because I think he feels like there's a level of thought that goes into it that maybe isn't there for some other other people. I think that he's had so many injuries from just the shoots and the stunts. He did his own stunts. He's like, tearing ankle tendons in his back and his knee and his shoulders. And so I think he appreciates that there's some thought put into making sure that those things are being respected at the same time that you're still training and trying to get stronger and bigger. And even at his age, still aesthetically, looking a certain way. But there's some actual care given to that. And I think that's probably where he initially became interested in my stuff. Because I don't know how long it was that he was following me prior to me writing the blog. It just was brought out when I decided to finally write the blog. But I think it was probably that injury prevention and smarter training approach.